Toy Story 4 was directed by Josh Cooley. This is his first directorial credit for a feature. He's done 2 shorts before, and he was one of the writers on Inside Out. So now that Woody and Buzz and all the other toys belong to Bonnie, they have to try to make sure her life is special. And when Bonnie goes to her first orientation day for kindergarten, she makes a toy out of a spork. And this thing suddenly has consciousness and doesn't quite understand what it is. But it was the first hint of joy for Bonnie on her orientation day because she was terrified of going to school. And when this little guy called Forky wants to run away, Woody and Buzz and the other toys have to try to make sure they can bring him back, which starts a whole nother adventure they didn't expect. Now, before I get any farther in the review, I do want to give a very special thank you to the sponsor for this episode, and that is Raid Shadow Legends. In case you've been living under a rock for the last couple of months, Raid is a brand new collection RPG game. It has an amazing storyline, awesome 3D graphics, giant boss fights, and more than 400 champions for you to collect and personally customize. The game also features excellent creature design, like this dragon. Raid will remind you of classic RPG and strategy games, but it has the added bonus that it's on your phone. The game's presentation and style is comparable to most AAA titles, even though it's completely free to play. And it almost has a perfect score on the Play Store. You can enjoy crazy battles and events that'll keep you hooked for hours, and see how crazy the level of detail is on these champions. The game is building super fast with a brand new update for new players, so if you check out the links in the description below, you can download the game for either iOS or Android and immediately get 50,000 silver and a free epic champion. So please do check out those links. Thank you so much to Raid for sponsoring this video. Let's talk about Toy Story 4. I don't think I'd be reaching to say that the majority of us were worried about this movie. As a trilogy, Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 was highly satisfying. Critics liked it, people liked it, it ended really well. I was honestly terrified about this film. I tried to remain optimistic and hopeful about film, but when it came to Toy Story 4, I did find myself cynical. Because when you have a trilogy that's actually satisfying, it's kind of scary when they decide to make another one. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, Last Crusade. Done! Bourne Identity, Supremacy, and Ultimatum. Done! It's really hard to make a good trilogy that's as satisfying as the Toy Story trilogy was, and so when they said they were going to make another one, I was really concerned. I walked out of a movie a few weeks ago, and I heard somebody behind me, they passed the Toy Story 4 poster, and they said, there is no way that that movie is going to be good. I cannot wait to see that movie and laugh at it, because it's going to be awful. And I remember thinking, Jesus, like that's a little much. They haven't even made a bad Toy Story movie yet. Hell, they haven't even made a mediocre Toy Story movie yet. They're all great. I was cynical about this movie, and I was really worried about it. And when I sat down in the theater, I thought to myself, this movie can do nothing but surprise me. But I wasn't like, this is going to suck. I really wanted it to be good. And it really surprised me. This film was a blast from start to finish, and extremely emotionally satisfying. And I do believe that Toy Story 4 has the potential to become maybe the prime argument whenever someone is defending the continuation of a franchise beyond its initial completion. I thought 3 was the perfect ending, and I didn't really see them doing anything else with these characters. And what I was really concerned about was the 4th film just being yet another episodic adventure. And there are times where it feels like that. But it was so well done that I didn't care. And then, without telling you anything, it's like, oh, you were doing things with these characters. I see where you wanted this to go. Yes, in some ways the film is easily able to say, let's do some more. Which is a little business and commerce-y, you know, and you're like, oh, I see what you're doing. You're doing more of this. More movies. Oh, money.
Money, money, money.
But if they're going to be this good, I'm fine with it. Let's talk about Josh Cooley. What a feature debut. This is beautifully directed. The way he moves characters in and around the screen, the action sequences, the emotional beats. He does a terrific job. This is a really, really well-made movie, and the animation has gotten to the point where it is fucking photorealistic. There's an opening sequence where the entire scene is in the rain, and there's characters underneath a car, and there's these little beads of water just dropping off of the pipes. It looked real. It did not look like animation. It is insane the level of animation Pixar has reached. What's also really tough to do in a franchise like Toy Story is have a brand new villain every time, because the Toy Story films, they don't have like a continuing villain storyline. And so they have to have a new thing every time. And what they do here really was unexpected to me. At first, it was almost like a horror movie, which reminded me of Sid in the first film, and I've always loved how dark that film got, the very first one where Buzz looks at them. They're cannibals! I remember even when I was like 8 years old, I was like, oh shit. Fucking cannibal toys. I didn't say those words, but that's what I was feeling inside. The introductory scene for this character, there is a Shining reference with the choice of music. And I was like, yep, I'm on board. You got me. In fact, that's not the only Kubrick reference in the film. There's another one for 2001: A Space Odyssey if you're listening very closely. They play around a lot with the villain storyline in this movie to make it different. And it goes in a direction that I really didn't expect it to. And it was not something I could have predicted, which is great. It somehow surprised me. I don't know how this children's film, the fourth in the franchise, did, but it did. But one of the most important storylines in the film is this new toy made from a spork that Bonnie names Forky. And Woody is trying to protect this thing because it's so important to Bonnie. Like I said, it was that one connection she made on that first orientation day that made her think, okay, maybe school's going to be all right. So Woody naturally feels very protective of his kid and wants to make sure she's safe and happy. So now he's got to protect Forky, who has no idea what the hell's going on. He doesn't know he's a toy, doesn't know what he is. And it's not exactly the same as like the Buzz Lightyear-Woody dynamic from the first one, where Buzz thought he was a real space ranger. This is different. This is like a weird amalgamation of something that has been created, and it has no idea exactly what it is. And so Woody has to make sure this thing is protected. And in that way, we get a lot of scenes where he's essentially being a father, which was one of my favorite themes about the film. Protecting those we love, how far is too far? How far is overprotective? You know, and a lot of that comes into Bo Peep in this movie, which is just the best that character has ever been, easily. Like, she got a major upgrade as a character, and she's awesome here. And the movie does play a lot with the relationship between Woody and Bo Peep. While in the first film, it was sort of like a flirtatious relationship that had absolutely no depth to it, here we have a fully fleshed out relationship, and it's handled beautifully. When it comes to comedies, I'm a tough laugh. I like clever humor. I like humor that makes me think about a situation or something that we're normally thinking of, or just very crass humor, dry humor. And when it comes to Toy Story 4, there's surprisingly a lot of that. There's actually a few offensive jokes even, and I was like, oh, okay. This franchise still understands that. In the first one, we had Buzz Lightbeer, and we had the word I'm searching for, I can't say, because there are preschool toys present.
Getting kind of tense, aren't you?
So we have a scary, horror-like setup with the villain characters and some adult humor. In other words, this movie didn't play it safe, which I was really afraid it was going to be this squeaky clean 2019 Disney movie, but this is a Pixar film. I didn't feel like I was watching like a studio movie that checked all the boxes. Pixar knows their shit, and they did a damn good job making this movie, and it really surprised me. When it comes to the emotional beats, I didn't expect to be as wrapped up in it as I was. And again, I don't want to give you any details, but there comes a point in the film where you sort of realize what they were doing with the characters. What at one point in time did feel kind of episodic suddenly becomes more than that, and you realize, holy shit, you were setting this up all along, and I never even considered that. And the waterworks just, and I was done. And I think I lost it more in this movie than I did in Toy Story 3 even. As far as new characters go, Duke Kaboom, voiced by Keanu Reeves, is awesome. He's a Canadian stuntman, and he's hilarious. It was a perfect role for Keanu Reeves. Key and Peele play two plushies that can be won at a carnival. They were really funny. All of the new characters, especially Forky, risk being annoying because they're around a lot. And I never was. In fact, Forky was actually really sweet, and I couldn't believe that I liked him. Because when I saw the teaser, I was like, oh shit, he's going to annoy me. I just know it. I fucking know it. But no, I actually really like that character. And I know this isn't a reference to the anime, but if you happen to be a fan of the very obscure anime Bo, there's a scene where you will not be able to help but hear that title in your head. I know it's not a reference to that show, But as a fan of anime and, you know, I knew of that show, I was like, oh, that's funny. They just kind of said it. There really was no dull moment in Toy Story 4. There was never a scene that I felt dragged. It felt shorter than its runtime. It was consistently entertaining, and it is yet again another fantastic Toy Story movie. If I were to try to talk about flaws, I feel like I would be reaching a lot. Like, I mean, it's like, it's there. I know I can find it. And there's a flaw. I got it. It's right here. Oh, yay. I found a flaw. Look at me. Good for me. I would say my only issue with the movie is that I wish there were more Woody Buzz scenes. There's some heartfelt stuff. There's just not a lot. It wasn't this movie's focus. And to me, that relationship has really anchored these films. Would have liked to have seen a little more of that. And like I said, there are times where this adventure they're on does feel a little inconsequential. Until you see where they're going with it. And you're like, oh, okay, so this actually was necessary to get to that point. I understand that now. That's it. This is a fucking great movie. I am blown away by how good this movie was. I did not expect it to be this good. So maybe go in with that mentality. Go in expecting to be underwhelmed. And maybe you'll have a good time with it. I'm going to give Toy Story 4 an A. I'm so happy that this movie didn't suck. I really honestly thought it was going to. I really did. I don't usually get cynical about movies like this. I was just like, it kind of started to affect me. Like, why do we need this movie? It doesn't have to happen. And then, you know, I sat there and it was great. So, yay. You know, forget those thoughts. Just go enjoy yourself. Have a good time. Guys, thank you so much, as always, for watching. Look forward to more reviews very soon. And if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.